I jumped out of bed this morning. My car was being taken to be repaired. You know, I went into the back of another car a couple of weeks ago. I've never had an accident in a car driving. Anyway, I jumped out of bed because my car was being taken away. And I just slapped on a topper really quick. Put on a dress, flip-flops, a little bit of makeup, and I was ready for the guy to turn up. I was going to be hanging around the house today doing some stuff, but I've decided, as I'm going back to work tomorrow for my 3 days this week, I'm going to go and visit my daughter instead. But it's a sunny day, and I'm kind of a little bit bored, quite frankly, of wearing a brunette topper, wearing my hair in a long wavy brunette. I want to wear the ashy blonde wig wig, and I want to wear all white clothing. It's just the mood I'm in. It's the mood I'm in. I'm going to get ready quickly, and I'm going to speak to you about fear. Let me sit down, get my act together, and I'll come back to this subject that I'd like to share with you. When my husband, Steve, walked out in 2016, it was on my birthday, I believe, or maybe the day before my birthday. And he just disappeared. He didn't give me a heads up that he was leaving. Something had happened, obviously, to make him leave, but I wasn't expecting that would be his response. So when I realized what had happened and that he'd actually gone and that he wasn't answering his phone, the realization dawned on me that the thing that I was most afraid of, was actually happening and had happened. A little while later, maybe within 3 weeks of him leaving with no reply on his phone, I received a letter. And in the letter, he said that he wasn't going to be back and that he was going to be starting a new life, starting again. Now, you got to understand, at that time, the relationship was not a healthy relationship. We had drifted with time into a very codependent situation. I wasn't happy with myself. I was gaining more and more weight, feeling very insecure about myself, and kind of losing sight of myself. Obviously, people change for lots of different reasons, and things happen sometimes without you noticing it at the time. But the point I'm trying to make is that I was so afraid to lose him. It was my biggest fear. Some of you listening would find it hard to believe that that's how I felt, but I promise you, I had become so dependent on him in so many ways that the thought of losing him was like losing one of, obviously notwithstanding the children, one of the most important things in my life. And I was put in a situation where I was having to face my deepest, biggest fear. I didn't realize how afraid of losing my marriage I actually was, and it sort of showed itself in quite unexpected ways that I lived through in order to, discover this fear that I had. Monday to Friday I was working full time, thank goodness, because it was a big distraction to what the hell that I was living. I would wake up on a Saturday morning, and normally, you know, for people living together, he would be there and I would have him and we would do our stuff, whatever it was we were planning on doing, whereas I'd wake up Saturday morning, the house was empty, or if my daughter was here, she'd be leaving, you know, pretty soon on Saturday morning to spend the weekend with her boyfriend. There was no way I was ever going to ask her not to do that, because she needed her life and I wasn't going to stand in her way like that. But I knew that I'd be facing a weekend alone. And I felt so lonely and so extremely aimless. I didn't know what to do with myself. I couldn't take my own company and I couldn't bear the silence in my life. If I went out to visit friends, I wasn't able to connect with them. I was locked in this, in these negative feelings that I had. See? And conversely, if I decided to stay at home and not go out and see friends, I was utterly, utterly miserable in my loneliness and despair. I know that I'm using very, very strong descriptions and very strong words: despair, loneliness, misery, fear. I promise you, I'm not exaggerating in the least. And facing the fear of my relationship ending was the biggest, most positive thing that I've ever experienced in hindsight. Do you realize that when you face your biggest fear, what's going on here? Ladies, what is going on here? Okay, let's try and focus just for a minute. How do I actually want this? I really like her quite sort of curly. I'm going to plug in my my curling wand. So as I was saying, being forced to face my biggest fear, realizing that I'd survived it, took so much of that fear away. As the year progressed, I took a hold of myself gradually. I still woke up feeling miserable at the weekend, but not as miserable as before. I developed my own routines. I saw friends. I started doing things that I enjoyed. And I guess over time I realized that I didn't need to be with him in order to be, if not happy, then at least content, and at least I'm able to have a life. You know, it wasn't all about being with him and going out with him and relying on him too much for everything. Had he not been taken away from me like that, I would never have gotten myself into a situation where I started to rely on myself and that huge black cloud of fear dispersed. And I'm happy that we're back together. We're very well matched. A lot happened, many reasons. There were many reasons for the relationship breaking down. Some were his fault, some were my fault. But the most important takeaway from that entire experience, ladies, is that I'm no longer afraid of Steve disappearing again. I don't think that he will. And he, you know, we've spoken about it. He assures me that he won't. And he assures me that he made a mistake, etc. But the value of not having that as a huge fear in my life is priceless, is priceless. Somebody said to me, what will you do if he does it again? And I said to her, I will never experience it like that again, because I know that I can survive and there is no fear there. Now, there is a direct similarity that puts me in mind of my hair loss. When I was experiencing hair loss as a young woman and I didn't have helper hair to fall back on, it just wasn't a thing in the same way that it's a thing now. And anyway, I would never have had the confidence, the self-confidence to actually wear it. It was such a taboo for a young woman to wear it. I was very, very afraid of my hair loss progressing. It was my biggest fear. And it was a fear that actually came to pass. They're the biggest blessings of all, within reason, obviously. Those biggest fears that come to pass are the biggest gift because they relieve you of that fear. My hair actually fell out, I would say, over time, 80% or thereabouts of my hair has disappeared. I've gone through the grieving, I've gone through the anger, I've gone through the insecurity, the despair, sometimes the panic. I know, again, these are very strong words that I'm using. But it was an extreme situation and I had nowhere to hide with my hair loss. There came a point when disguising my hair loss was no longer a possibility for me. It was too advanced, it was too obvious, it was too noticeable. There was no longer any colour that I could dye it, or way of styling it, or parting it, or doing an updo, or putting a band in, or anything that was going to help anymore. And that's when my acceptance was, my hand was forced. I had to accept that I was suffering from hair loss and somehow or other make it okay. I had to be okay with myself. Most importantly, I had to transform the shame of it, the sheer shame and embarrassment that would make me want the ground to open up beneath me so that I could be swallowed up by the ground rather than go through the squirming experience of seeing that someone had noticed that I had hair loss and was looking at it. I haven't gone out wearing my natural hair for so long. And I haven't had to experience that feeling for so long. I don't know how I would be now if I was in a situation where someone was clocking my hair loss and I had to face it head on. But I do know some things that would help me that I never knew before. If you are ashamed of your hair loss and you end up saying stupid things or inappropriate things or going through crazy explanations, etc., you're not really helping yourself in the long run. People follow your lead. You know, I would never in a million years have put myself on the internet getting ready, taking my hair off, showing my hair loss, not trying to disguise it. I've got a big south-facing window here. I know that when I bend down to look into my mirror, the majority of my hair loss is going to be absolutely seen. I do that on purpose to show other women that having a bald head is not the worst thing that you can own. When you show your hair loss and you're casual about it and you're relaxed about it, I believe, well, going from my own experience of when I used to watch Fabricating Fringe and Talking Wigs, talk wigs, I'll put the people in the description, when they used to take their hair off and just speak into the mirror casual, all casual. At first, when I first saw it, I was utterly horrified for them. I used to think, blimey, look at what they're owning up to. Look at what they're showing the world. The entire globe can access them in a way that I just wanted to hide for myself. But it taught me huge lessons that if you're relaxed about something, the likelihood is that someone else will be relaxed about it too. And if you're squirming about something, the likelihood is that somebody will clock that and actually start to feel uncomfortable and make you wrong for it somehow. Yes, indeed, facing our biggest fear sometimes is the only way to not have that fear anymore, to overcome it. I'm having to curl my hair upside down again. I don't know how to do this. I really don't know how. I'm probably going to wear it up anyway, wear it kind of a little bit messy. I do love that messy ashy blonde look. Yep. And ironically, going through that temporary separation with Steve has allowed me to find myself, to find my confidence more so. In fact, I wonder how much of that confidence has fed into my hair wearing journey, because actually it was after the event, after he left and I had to go through the trauma of it, etc., that I started wearing hair a few years after that, probably a couple of years after that. And I think probably the confidence that I found in myself when I was alone made me be able to make the choice to wear hair and not worry too much about what he thinks. I mean, I know that it would have been nice for him. I would have wanted him to approve and to be an ally. But you know what? If he wasn't going to, then so be it. I was quite happy being my own ally, being my own cheerleader, being my own life coach, lifting myself up, believing in myself and speaking positivity over myself until I believed the words. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for all of those horrible events. And even though I don't think that my hair is ever going to really grow back, I'm okay with it. I'm not terrified of it. It's not a black cloud over that horizon. You know, my happiness does not rely on how thick my hair is anymore. There was a time when I wasn't able to say that, but I really mean it now. I really believe it now. I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to wear some white trousers today, a white blouse, and go to my daughter's with a completely different look, because why not? I'm a hair wearer. It's my prerogative. I can have whatever hair I like. I love it. I've gone for these type of trousers. a body underneath and some flip-flops. This is definitely not a look that I usually go for, but I just fancied it today. I tried to put my hair up, but I don't really have time to fiddle about with it, so I'm just going to leave it like this. The pearl earrings were too big. I'm just going to go for something smaller and quicker and easier. And I'll see you next time.